First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakak Wadash. Double honor to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. So today I wanted to make a quick lesson going into Daniel, the 7th chapter, and pretty much breaking it down because this chapter is very significant according to prophecy, right? This is when Daniel had visions about the four main kingdoms or rulers that were going to come on the earth and their descriptions of who they were and what was going to happen after them, right? So through the Spirit now we can decipher who or what these kingdoms are and pretty much see what part of prophecy we're in. So just wanted to make a quick breakdown of this because just knowledge I can regurgitate and spread to feed the sheep at the end of the day, right? So this is Daniel 7 and 1. And it says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters. Daniel spake and said, I saw in my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heavens strove upon the great sea. And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another. And those four great beasts represent those four kingdoms, the four main kingdoms that ruled. Now it talks about the first was like a lion, it had eagle's wings, and this is talking about the Assyrian Empire, right? Because the Assyrians, they were known for the griffin, right? The image of the griffin, which is a lion with the eagle's wings. And I have it right here. This is pretty much what it's referring to, the lion with the eagle's wings. So this was the first kingdom, which was the Assyrian, right? And if we keep going, it says, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth, and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, right? Because after the Assyrian Empire, it came the Babylonian, right? It's the same. It transitioned into the Babylonian, right? First the Assyrian, and then those wings were plucked into the Babylonian, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, and that man was Nebuchadnezzar, right? The king of Babylon, the main king of Babylon. So if we keep going, Daniel 7 and 5, it says, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, right? And that second beast is referring to the Medo-Persian Empire, right? And when it talks about here, it says, behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side. That raising up itself on one side is referring to the Persian Empire, because the Persians were ultimately, they had the greater portion, right? Because it was split up, right? It was the Medio, the Medio Empire, and then the Persians. But the Persians ultimately, they had that greater portion, right? They were their main characters, and it talks about how it had three ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said, and thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh, much flesh. And those three ribs are talking about three areas that they conquered, right? Because Persia is ultimately in Iran, and yeah, as I was saying, they conquered three main areas around Iran, right? And also this can symbolize those three directions, right? Because they conquered, they came from the east and they conquered the west, east, and south. So this is first kingdom is the Assyrian Babylonians. Second is the Medo-Persian Empire, and here we're going into the third. And it says, after this I beheld, and lo, another, like a leopard, which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast also had four heads, and dominion was given to it. And this third beast, with the one like a leopard, was the Greek Empire, right? Alexander the Great and the Greek Empire. Because, what was I saying? Yeah, that's what this kingdom was. And where it talks about here, it had like a leopard which had upon the back of it four wings of a fowl. The beast also had four heads. The four wings of a fowl and the four heads is representing the four main generals of Alexander the Great. because ultimately Alexander the Great was huge, a big guy, right? He conquered the whole world in his rulership, and he separated the world into four regions, which is four generals occupied, right? They had like their own little divisions and areas that they were in. So that's what the four heads was representing, because ultimately the leopard is Alexander the Great, right? The Greek Empire. And if we keep going, it says, "After this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth." And this fourth beast is the Roman Empire, right? And one thing about the Roman Empire, how it talks about, it was strong exceedingly, right? All the knowledge that they had in the past they had a strong military power, right? So all the knowledge that they had from kingdoms in the past, they combined it into um, one thing. So they used all the ideas from the past and they combined it into one military. So they had ideas from the Spanish, right, from the Spartans, from the Greeks, from all these kingdoms, and they came up to be a very strong power, right? And they had great iron teeth, right? It talks about how uh, the Romans represented that iron, because iron, one thing about iron, even though it's not precious like gold or silver, it's way stronger than all of those, right? So, as I was saying, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible, strong exceedingly, that military power, and it had a great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, right? Because ultimately the Romans were conquering nations, right? It devoured and brake in pieces all these nations, and stamped the residue with the feet of it, right? They're stamping the Roman way, because one thing they would do is they would conquer these nations and they would Hellenize them, right? They would make them follow the Roman way and the Roman customs. So that's what stamping the residue with the feet of it is representing. And if we keep going, it says, "And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns." And the way that it was diverse from all the beasts before it is the system that it was operating on, right? This system wasn't like the past four beasts or all the kingdoms that was like you had a king, and after the king died, the son of the king ruled, and after the king died, it wasn't based on kingdomship, right? It was based on like the Senate House, like there's people in the Senate, and there is a president, and pretty much the system we have today in Babylon the Great, America, it's the same system, right? So this is how it was diverse from all the beasts. And if I'm right, I think it's called a monarchy. No, that's the that's how the other kingdoms were a monarchy, right? With the king, and then yeah. So democracy, yeah, yeah. It was a democracy. That's what it was. So that's how they were different from all the beasts that were before it. And here it says it had 10 horns. And those 10 horns are symbolizing the 10 European nations, right, in league with Rome. Now, if we keep going, it says, "I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn." And what is this talking about? This is talking about America right here. The little horn that came out of the main horns was America out of the European nations, before whom there were three of the first horns plucked up by the roots. And those three of the first horns plucked up by the roots by the little horn was Britain, or the British, the French, and the Spanish, which were here in America. And then the Americans pretty much waged a war with them and took over all of this land, because before America, or how do I even say it? Before that little horn had complete control of the land, America as it's called today, it was occupied by the British, the French, and the Spanish. But then the little horn, America, made treaties and deals and ultimately got all the land to itself, right? And these three horns were plucked up by the roots. And if we keep going, it says, "And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things." Right? That mouth speaking great things is how it's representing America, talking very bravely because they have that military power at the end of the day, right? They speak that pompous, right? They just say whatever they want because they can back it with their military. So, if we keep going, it says, "I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the ancient of days did sit." Right? So this was talking about the four beasts, and this is talking about the ancient of days, the Lord. It says, or the Son, I mean, "I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the ancient of days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head was like the pure wool." This is talking about the Son, who was a black man, and his hair was white, right? It talks about that in Revelation, about how his feet were like burnt brass, and his hair was like pure wool, right? His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire, which is talking about the chariot that he was in when he comes back, because those chariots are the so-called UFOs, UAPs, and he came back riding on one, right? That cloud. So if we keep going, it says, "A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him," right? That chariot. "Thousands and thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him." The chariots, the angels. "The judgment was set, and the books were opened. I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which a horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed, and given to the burning flame." So here is a little clue that talks about how the fourth empire, the Romans, right? There's another legacy or another part to that, because if this was back then and the Romans fell, right? They did fall, but they didn't fall with fire, right? And Yahweh Shai, the Son, the Lord, are not ruling right now, right? We're not in the kingdom of heaven. So that's just to show that this prophecy is still in play, right? This is talking about how, let me go there actually. What really happened is that Rome fell down, right? And then that little horn came up about, which is America, and that is the Roman Empire 2.0, right? Right? Or it's talking about how yeah, that's the Roman Empire 2.0, and this is the one that's talking about how I beheld then, because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake, right? All the foolishness that this kingdom is talking, right? The rebellion. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame, right? With those nuclear missiles. As concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away, yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time, because after the Son comes back and he comes into rulership, all these other kingdoms that survived are going to be slaves to us for a time, right? I think it's 1,000 years if I'm correct. So their lives were prolonged for a season and a time. And yeah, as I was saying, that's what this is talking about. But the point I wanted to bring up in Revelation 13, this is that beast, right? The little horn that it's talking about. And it says, "I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon." Those two horns representing that democracy, right? The Republicans and the Democrats. But ultimately, it's from the same beast. "And he spake as a dragon," right? He spake wickedly, confusing. "And he exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed." Right? Because ultimately the Roman Empire fell, but it came back. So that deadly wound was healed, and this new beast exerciseth all the power of the first beast before him. Right? Because America is still following the Roman ideas, the Roman principles, the democracy. So it's exercising all that power. And if we keep going, it says, "And causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast," right? Because all over the earth, all over America, it's the same thing, right? We're all worshiping that Roman idea, the Roman way. So that's just backing that up about how ultimately the Roman Empire, we're still in that fourth kingdom, right? The Roman Empire. So if we keep going, it says, I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, right? Those UFOs, UAPs, which are the angels. And it says, and came to the chariots, angels' chariots, and it came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. And there was given him dominion and glory and a kingdom that all people, nations, and languages should serve him. His dominion is an everlasting dominion which shall not pass away, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, which is the kingdom in heaven. And this is when we are going to receive new bodies that will not sin, right? We're not going to have to teach our brothers the law because we're going to have it in our inward parts, right? And we're going to live righteously forever. So, if we keep going, it says, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me. I came near unto one of them that stood by, and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me, and made me know the interpretation of the things. These great beasts which are four kings which shall arise out of the earth. But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom and possess the kingdom forever, even forever and forever, right? After these four beasts fall. Then would I know the truth of the fourth beast, which was diverse from all the others, exceeding dreadful, whose teeth were of iron, and his nails of brass, which devoured his brake in pieces, and stamped the residue with his feet, and of the 10 horns that were in his head, and of the other which came up, and before whom 3 fell, right? Even of that horn that had eyes and a mouth that spake very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows, right? Because America looks down upon all these other European nations, right? They think that they are superior to them. So their look was more stout than his fellows, right? They have that confidence in their face, right? That pridefulness. And if we keep going, it says, I beheld, and the same horn made a war with saints and prevailed against them, right? When they came over here to the Americas, or America, and they did all these horrendous things to the Native Americans, right? They waged war with the saints and prevailed against them. How he spread smallpox all over our people, right? He beat us until the Ancient of Days came, and his judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom, right? Till then, he's going to be making war against us and prevailing. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. That's exactly what it's doing right now. It's devouring the whole earth through all the corruption that it's spreading, right? How it's polluting this earth. And, oh, man, there are so many things you can go into how this society is breaking down the earth, but pretty much it's destroying it, right? Through these train derailments, through the oil that's being put in the earth, through the trees getting broke down, through the pesticides, through the GMOs. Like, there's a lot. Chemtrails. If we keep going, it says, and the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings, right? And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time, and times the dividing of time. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away his dominion, to consume and to destroy it to the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the whole people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Hitherto is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my cogitations much troubled me, and my countenance changed in me, but I kept the matter in heart. Right, so ultimately, there's 4 kingdoms that have to rule and have to come down before the kingdom of heaven is established, right? So the first kingdom was the Assyrians, the Babylonians, right? That was the first kingdom. Then it was the Medo-Persian Empire, the second kingdom. The third kingdom were the Greeks, and the fourth was the Romans, which were still in the fourth kingdom. Just the revival of it, right? the Roman 2.0, that little horn which came out of the 10 horns. So, till that little horn goes down with fire, right, with those nuclear missiles, then after that happens, then the kingdom of heaven is going to come, right? That's the storyline here. And if you go to reputable scholars, right, people that don't have the complete understanding, but know the Bible, that they study it, they will tell you that these are the four kingdoms, right? But they don't know, they can't understand that little horn, right? But they will tell you, yeah, the four kingdoms are the Assyrians, the Medo-Persians, the Greeks, and Rome, right? They'll tell you the fourth kingdom is Rome, but after that, they don't know. They're done. So, yeah, this was the complete breakdown of Daniel, the 7th chapter. Just wanted to bring it out, some new knowledge that personally I came across, because I myself am new to this truth. I'm new in this truth, so I'm just trying to build myself up and build others up at the same time. So once again, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder bishops and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. Shalom to the elect. Shalom.